Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. If all the young men were hares on the mountain, if all the young men were hares on the mountain, how many young girls would grab guns and go hunting? Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. If all the young girls were little white rabbits, if all the young girls were little white rabbits, and I were a hare, I would teach them bad habits. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. If you would hand over your scarcely earned riches, if you would hand over your scarcely earned riches, you'd never ignite all the wrath of the witches. If the village didn't know how they would revel, if the village didn't know how they would revel, how you and I danced and got drunk with the devil. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Oh, sorry, my dear, you're truly hag-ridden. Oh, sorry, my dear, you're truly hag-ridden. So be on your way now, the witches have risen. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum dum da dum da dum dum. Dum da dum da 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 dum.
Tell me, what is a witch?
A witch is something that rides a broomstick, has a pointy hat, has a cat, and turns people into frogs.
What's a witch's face like?
I don't know. I've never seen one before.
Do you think that witches are nice people, or...?
They're horrible people.
Really?
Yeah. They do horrible spells. They snap people in the faces. They stamp on their heads. And they kick you in the eye.
And do witches have friends?
So they only have naughty friends. And they don't hang out very often. They only hang out when they're feeling naughty.
That's my friend's 4-year-old. Hello, welcome to the show. How you doing? Yeah? Yeah, you're talking back. That's awesome. That's good. I'm Becky. This is Daisy.
Hello.
So we wrote what you're about to watch. And we're delighted to be joined by two amazing women. This is Elisabeth on fiddle, recorder, whistle and vocals. And this is Midori on cello and vocals. So, back to my friend's 4-year-old. Let me ask you the same question. You don't need to answer out loud, just in your head. Do you know what a witch is? What do you think a witch looks like? Would you trust one? Do you think you could spot one? Are there any in this room? Don't worry, you don't have to admit to that. that sound means that it's 1486. And Catholic clergyman Heinrich Kramer has written a book. It warns people against the danger of witches. It details how to tell if someone is a witch, and then it actively calls for proven witches to be exterminated. At the front of Heinrich Kramer's book is a recreation of a papal bull, which is a sort of decree from the Catholic Church which endorses the book by the Church's highest power, the Pope. The book spread like wildfire. It became the second best-selling book on earth for 200 years, second only to the Bible. And the name of this notorious witch-hunting manual? The Malleus Maleficarum.
Malleus Maleficarum.
But despite its box office success, all was not what it seemed with the
Malleus Maleficarum.
We're not going to do that all evening, don't worry. Do you remember how I said that the writer, Heinrich Kramer, was a Catholic clergyman? He had actually been discredited by the church just before he wrote the book for behaving improperly, because he had become obsessed with the sexual habits of a woman who, guess what? He then tried for being a witch.
Suspicious.
Now, in preparation for this show, we read some of the Malleus Maleficarum, and it completely reads like the 1486 equivalent of an angry man's Twitter feed. Kramer writes that
all witchcraft comes from carnal lust, which is in women insatiable.
And states that it's completely normal for witches to
perform filthy carnal acts with demons.
Thank you, Midori. Throughout the Malleus Maleficarum, Kramer lists a few things that witches tend to do, so naturally, we thought that we would put them into a song.
Witches, they are coming, they're dirty, they're deranged. They live in rural places, their practices are strange. Oh, the witches, they are dangerous, you don't know what they'll do. They're careful cause you'll curse your house and eat your babies too. Oh, the witches have familiars who always shift their shape. 1 minute they are human, the next they're dog or ape. Oh, the witches have no morals, they pay the devil's debt. They'll even steal your penis and keep it as a pet.
Yep, this is a genuine thing. Seriously, I'm not joking. The Malleus Maleficarum lists a number of cases of men having their penises stolen by witches. This is one of my favourite quotes.
Witches somehow take members in large numbers, 20 or 30, and shut them up together in a bird's nest or some box where they move about like living members, eating oats and other feed.
Yep, you all feed your penises oats, don't you? The Malleus Maleficarum also featured this heroic tale of a poor man who tried to get his penis back from a naughty witch who'd stolen it. The poor dickless man nervously approached a witch who said,
Climb this tree where you shall find a special nest containing many members. Take anyone you like.
Yeah, so naturally, given the choice, the man chose the largest penis. You would, wouldn't you, right? But the witch stopped him in his tracks. There was something wrong. The man stood helplessly clutching his newly chosen penis. The witch looked at him, and then back at the penis, and then back at him, and then back at the penis. And she took a deep breath and said,
You must put that one back. It belongs to the parish priest.
Witches, they are coming, they levitate and fly. The witches, they will eat you, don't look them in the eye. Oh, the witches, they are carnal, on brooms they sit astride. They make their fly in ointment, they can't be satisfied. Oh, the witches deal in poison. fuck the devil than go to bed with you. Yes, they'd rather fuck the devil. I'm sorry, but it's true. Yes, they'd rather fuck the devil than go to bed with you. Oh, can you fuck the devil? Apparently it's true. Yes, they'd rather fuck the devil than go to bed with you.
So, before the 1400s, it was rare for anyone to be tried as a witch, but as Montague Summers writes in his foreword to the 1948 edition of the Malleus Maleficarum,
The malleus lay on the bench of every judge, on the desk of every magistrate. It was the ultimate, irrefutable, unarguable authority.
the Malleus had become popular in Europe, but Britain had been fairly safe from the witch craze until James I took the throne in Scotland, roughly 70 years after the Malleus had been published. James had become interested in witchcraft after a trip to Denmark, during which 7 women were burned as witches for allegedly conjuring the storms which endangered James's journey there. The touch paper was lit. His interest in witches and witchcraft was piqued.
Gallus Duncan was the first of the North Berwick witches to be accused, starting the domino effect for witch trials in Scotland. Gallus was accused by her employer after he raised questions about her seeming to acquire healing powers. Gallus's employer had also raised suspicions about her going out at night, presumably because, just like in the case of our old pal, Heinrich Kramer, he has the hots for young Gallus. Handy, then, that he took it upon himself to search her entire body for a witch's mark, some sort of bite where the devil would have fed from his new ward.
Suspicious.
Can you all do something for me? Can you all close your eyes? We're not going to run away, I promise. Just close your eyes. It's safe. Thank you. Now, quick show of hands. Who here has any form of birthmark? We don't need to see it. Okay. Cool. Keep your eyes closed. Now raise your hand if you have a mole anywhere on your body. Okay, you can put down your hands and open your eyes, and I can tell you that you are all witches. No, I'm joking. But something as simple as a mole, a birthmark, or a blemish could be classed as a witch's mark, and as a person with eczema, I would be completely fucked.
Back to Gallus. Her employer tried to get her to confess to witchcraft by torturing her. He first crushed her thumbs using thumb screws. She did not confess. He then wrenched her. Wrenching is a form of torture which involves ropes being tied around the head and then pulled from either direction. Gallus still did not confess. It was only when her employer searched her body and found a witch's mark that she broke down. Why? Maybe because she couldn't face any more torture. Maybe because the mark was as a result of a sexual encounter she'd had which might not have been so easy to discuss in Scotland in the 1500s. Either way, Gallus confessed and she was taken to prison in Edinburgh.
The Survey for Scottish Witchcraft tells us that nearly 4,000 people were tried for witchcraft in Scotland in the following years, with an estimated 85% of them being women. These are 2 original Scottish folk songs about witches. The first one, Alison Cross, almost sounds like a child's fantasy of a witch. The second one, The Witch is Real, is a little darker. It details a dance with the devil, and it references dancing in a circle and going widdershins, which means anti-clockwise or against nature. The lyrics in the second song are actually taken from a witch trial transcript too.
Alison Cross lives in yon tower, the ugliest witch of the North Country.
trusted me. A deity had power, had money, fair speeches she made to me. She showed me a mantle loaded scarlet with golden flowers and fringes fine. Says, Guinea, you'll be my lemon seed tree. This gaudy gift, it shall be thine. Oh, wah, ye ugly witch, had fought and let me be. I ne'er will be your lemon seed tree. I wish I were into your company.
Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. Ye ugly witch, far and let me be. Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. Before I kiss your ugly mouth, I'd sooner toddle around the tree. I'd sooner toddle around the tree. I'd sooner toddle around the tree.
Ring the with the shins, whirling, skirling with the shins. Devil tack the hindmost, where she be. Come or go ye before, come or go ye. If you wanna go before, come or let me. Ring a with the shins, clinking lightly with the shins. Come or calling, crone and queen, round go, round go we, go round go we, round go we, round go we. King James became so entrenched in the idea of witches that he wrote a book entitled Demonology. The aim of the book seems to be to educate a misinformed populace as to the reasons for persecuting witches. Now, James thought of himself as a liberal, educated kind of king, and indeed, demonology is much more vanilla than the hardcore Malleus Maleficarum. Think of it as the Guardian Reader's Guide to Hunting Witches. However, once James I of Scotland became James VI of England, became James VI of England. The English literati wanted to know more about their new king. And what better way to get to know the latest monarch than to read his book? William Shakespeare seemed to read it. He basically copied and pasted some of it into the witches' speeches in his play Macbeth. James's move onto the English throne marked the beginning of the bulk of witch trials in England, with many of the English wannabe elite looking to find favour with the new king by bringing him what he seemed to desire: witches.
But one English county already had a little head start in hunting witches. The first woman to be executed for witchcraft claimed her gory title nearly 50 years before James became King of England. This same county would go on to become the hotbed for witch trials in England.
Essex.
So are you sure we don't have any witches in the room? Essex in the 15 to 1600s was a deeply Puritan place. Professor Malcolm Gaskell writes that
to Puritans, the war against witches was a manifestation of a larger apocalyptic struggle being fought out in the contemporary world between Christ and Satan.
In other words, the highly Puritan population of Essex were expecting the apocalypse, and what better sign of an incoming apocalypse than a shit ton of witches?
When we started writing this show, we came across the story of Ursula Kemp, a midwife and healer from St Osyth in Essex. Ursula was convicted of causing the deaths of 2 adults and 2 children by witchcraft, and she was hanged in Chelmsford. In 1921, the skeleton of a woman was found in a garden in St Osyth. It had iron rivets driven into its knees. This was a common way of stopping witches rising from the dead after they'd been buried, and the skeleton was believed to be that of Ursula Kemp. The man who found the bones in his garden saw an opportunity and started charging people to see them, until his house burnt down in an unexplained fire a few years later. Suspicious! For some reason, Ursula's story stayed in my head more than some of the others. I thought about her a lot. She appeared in my dreams until one day I was taking a break from writing the material for this show, and I was being nosy and I was looking up how much my neighbour's house had sold for on Rightmove. Does anyone else do that, or is it just me? Okay. Probably just me then, it sounds like. So I saw something on the homepage, 5 most eccentric houses for sale. I scrolled through lighthouses and barn conversions until I got to the bottom of the page, where I saw a little cottage in St Osyth. The oldest part of the cottage, where the dining room now was known as the Cage, a jail cell which had held 13 suspected witches, including Ursula Kemp. Like many accused of witchcraft, Ursula was a cunning woman. At the time, doctors were often beyond the financial reach of ordinary people, so the sick turned to the local wise woman, from whom they could expect to receive anything from herbal remedies to charms against their illness. Cunning women were also often midwives, as midwifery was not legally recognised in Britain until 1902.
Ursula was called upon by her friend Grace, who needed help for her son, Davy, who had become unwell. Davy recovered, and Grace believed it was Ursula who had cured him. When Grace herself became unable to walk, she asked Ursula to try to heal her. Ursula agreed, but said she'd need a fee of 12 pence. Grace got better without Ursula's help, but then refused to pay her. Thus started a feud between the 2 women, which led to Grace telling a magistrate that Ursula was a witch. This pattern of women doing some form of work for an agreed fee, which is then reneged upon, is something we see a lot in stories of accused witches. Be it healing or farm work, it seemed people took offence at these women asking for what they'd earned.
On the first day you didn't pay me, I gave you my best goodwill. As soon as you get the money, my sorry old purse you would fill. A week went by, my cheek grew pale, my stomach rumbled in pain. My mother said, dear daughter, that rich old fucker's to blame. Yes, that rich old fucker's to blame. You showed us no sign of guilt. My daughter starved and our legs grew weak.
Our beloved old house, it did wilt. Oh, we worked for you on your shitty farm, malnourished at your own hand. Now we're coming to take what we're owed, or we'll come and destroy all your land. Yes, we'll come and destroy all your land.
We rose at night, all four of us. We walked till our feet were blood sore. And when we arrived at your bright fancy house, we screamed an unholy uproar. Misfortune will befall you. We'll make your bed in a hearse. You rich old bastard, you're starving us.
Pay us our dues or we'll curse. Yes, pay us our dues or we'll curse. We'll murder you in your own bed. La 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 la. And if we can't find you, we'll murder your cattle instead. La 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 la. We'll murder you in your own bed. La 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 la. And if we can't find you, we'll murder your cattle instead. We wondered how our heads hung low. We cursed you for what you had done. And morning came, no breakfast had, just the nourishing warmth of the sun. She'll torture you, she'll curse you, when you starve, poor woman of bread. How Mother Nature will judge you. Consider a cross on your head. 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 Consider a cross on your head.
Consider this. Why would someone confess to being a witch if they were not? There are many reasons which could contribute. Firstly, lots of confessions in Scotland were extracted under torture. In England, physical torture was illegal, but sleep deprivation and walking torture were common, where accused witches were forced to walk until exhaustion. Confessing would end the torture. But also, consider the power of suggestion. When everyone around you is pointing the finger at you, it might only be a matter of time before you start to question yourself. And once you've started to question yourself, when do you stop?
Remember, we're looking at a time in the past where witches and bad spirits and the idea of the supernatural was widely understood to be true. It's likely that a lot of our accused witches did themselves believe in the idea of witches. This feels especially plausible when everyone who's pointing the finger, magistrates and prosecutors, appear more educated than you.
I can easily see how a woman accused of witchcraft could start to think of herself as guilty.
Earth beneath your feet is all you'll ever need. Sky, she smiles on me. structure, your torture, your nature's debaucher, but still the red, but still the red. Days have gone and still I walk, will I be free? Mother always said, against them you won't succeed. They're hostile, they're fractured, their grief is manufactured, but still the red, but still the red. Please rain on me, cleanse my shame, leave me.
I didn't do the things that they said I did. I do not do the things that they said I did. It's not the sort of thing I am not. I would remember if I didn't do the things that they said I did. If I had done that, I couldn't live with myself. Two sweet, innocent children, babies. If I had done that, no. Just imagine. They did die though. They are dead. And it was me who tried to heal them. I did try to heal them. I only meant to try and heal them. I only meant to try and heal them. Of course, I'd never do anything to hurt them. I would never do anything to hurt them. Not intentionally. Never intentionally. I didn't do this. It just happened. It just happened.
Where we saw one confession for witchcraft, we often saw many, many more. We see stories of neighbours and families accusing each other. Accusations seemed contagious. After Ursula had been accused of witchcraft by Grace Thurlow, another woman, Alice Leatherdoll, then accused Ursula of bewitching her daughter to death. Indeed, the gurgled testimony of Alice's youngest baby was even used to prosecute Ursula Kemp. The baby gurgled some noise whilst pointing at Ursula's house, which unbelievably counted as an accusation. Ursula's illegitimate 8-year-old son told the prosecutor that that spirits sucked his mother's blood and that she fed them with white bread and beer. It's thought that the man prosecuting Ursula, Brian Darcy, coached Ursula's son to say these things. But however it happened, the testimony of Ursula's son proved convincing. Brian Darcy wanted more, though. He tricked Ursula into confessing to her crimes by promising her leniency. Presumably fearful of the gallows, Ursula confessed. She admitted to causing death through witchcraft, and she also admitted to convening with other witches, who she named, implicating them in turn.
Why would you turn on me? Why would you turn on me, my daughter? Why would you turn on me? Where did you get this sad idea? Am I the thing you truly fear? Why did you turn on me? I should have seen them coming then. The suited so-called clergymen. I'm longing for a memory when my daughter, my sister, my mother, my daughter. Smother you, they'll always only other you. Now let your mother cover you. And before I go, I wanted you to know I still will love you so.
Can I ask you some questions for my show?
Right. Oh, go on then. Tell you what, Becky, let me put my teeth in then. That must sound horrible. Just a minute, won't take me a minute.
All right then. You once played a witch in an Amdram show, didn't you?
Yes. There was a lovely pretty girl playing the princess, and I was the one that, you know, was the odd one out, but played the biggest part, and definitely the best part. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, no, it was a good feeling, even though, you know, I was a baddie, if you like.
You enjoyed playing the witch?
I'd do it again.
Mary is a hungry girl. She loves the riches of the world. Though nature's virtues she'll extol, her favorite harvest is your soul. She harvests souls, her favorite harvest is your soul. She picks the pears once they are ripe, the farmer's apples she does swipe. And though she loves this nature's gold, her favorite harvest is your soul. She harvests souls, her favorite harvest is your soul.
Oh, Mary loves to trudge the fields for leftover that nature yields. The farmer's mad, he's lost control. He gave that harvest all his soul. The village shouts, "Oh, she's a thief!" But Mary stares in disbelief. She says her hunger took its toll, but still they hear she harvests souls.
She harvests souls, the village shouts, she harvests souls.
Gather round, children. We all know what happens to naughty girls with sticky fingers. No matter how hungry you become, you must keep away from other people's things. Even if they have lots and it seems to be going to waste, rotting in the fields, good girls never pinch. Since the apple was a seed, Mary knew what comes from greed. And since the apple first did grow, naughty Mary should have known. And since the apple then was picked, Mary's hungry finger pricked. The cursed apple Mary stole was the mark on Mary's soul.
Mary's soul, and now the apple takes its toll. Mary's soul, the village questions Mary's soul. Now Mary stands accused and poor, her harvesting will be no more. As children run for miles around to see this Mary ducked and drowned. No ashes to be found. They watch her body charred and brown. Her swinging corpse all gather round. Now noisy Mary makes no sound.
In the late 1500s and 1600s, news would spread through word of mouth, but also through street literature, including songs printed on broadside sheets of paper called broadside ballads. A broadside ballad is a sheet of paper with a rhyme, some news, and some illustrations. They were the most common form of printed material between the 16th and 19th centuries. Often people used them to share news through the medium of song. Music critic Peter Gammon likens the ballad to material written by the journalistic hacks of the day to cover such news as a robbery or a hanging, to moralise or simply to offer entertainment. They covered all the duties of a modern newspaper. The use of crude verse or doggerel was common.
We would never write anything like that, of course.
We found a bunch of broadside ballads about witches. Here's one we've remixed for you.
This is a song from 1691. It spread the tale of a woman who'd done wrong. This is how news was spread amongst the crowd, put into song to spread the word around. my song, good people, hear. 3 aged women that imprisoned were witches, and all the people they destroyed were thither brought in order to be tried. For witchcraft, that old wicked sin, which they for long time had continued in, and joined with Satan to destroy the good, hurt innocents and shed their harmless blood. So, as we said, we didn't write this tune, found it online, it felt opportune. As it's so old, the rights we may forego. If you're not sure, Google it after the show. We couldn't find a broadside ballad for Ursula Kemp. Do you remember the house that I was talking about that jumped out at me on Rightmove? The one that used to be a prison where Ursula was kept? An article from 4 months ago states that the woman who owned the cottage moved out after being terrorised by evil spirits. She said she was pushed over and plagued by ghostly figures. She also said that she was spanked on the bottom by a demonic entity. Whatever you do in your own time's up to you. All things which actually, had she said them in the 1600s, could have led her to the gallows for witchcraft. The estate agent selling the house had a different take on things, though. He said, "The house has now been cleared of the many evil residents encountered over the years. It is still haunted, but there seems to be a newly found harmony within. It is time for someone else to take on this unique cage, one of only 7 cages in the country. And not with the reputation of this one. Maybe someone interested in the paranormal, or maybe someone wishing to invest and turn it into a lucrative holiday cottage for the ultimate paranormal experience." It's amazing what you find on the internet. The skeleton from the garden in St Osyth was purchased by a witchcraft museum in Boscastle in Cornwall in the 60s. I wonder what Ursula would think about her old bones being purchased and on show in a museum. Maybe she'd be glad that her death hadn't gone unnoticed, that someone was still thinking about her. No written confession was ever produced from Ursula Kemp, but Justice Brian Darcy, the same man who was prosecuting her, said that she had confessed to him in private, and that seemed to suffice as a confession.
Fancy gravy?
Other brands of gravy are available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6. 6.
Sit down, my darling, come sit. Rest you, my darling, submit to your imagination and listen if your ears permit. Follow me under, take the cup of wonder. Will show you. Sign the devil will know you. Sign this, my darling, come sign. Let in the darkness align with your imagination and feed off my danger, my dear. Sign this, I'll take you, I promise I won't break you. Bad girls never make it to the end. They're killed off, then they're buried by a friend. Bad girls never make it to the end. Six, six, six.
When Daisy and Becky were looking at how to make the show, they came to realise the problematic way in which stories handle the idea of bad, corrupted, or evil women. Basically, these women never make it to the end of the show. They're either banished from the land or they find redemption learning the error of their ways. In the theatre, if they don't find redemption, they get killed off around 9:30 p.m.
How much time do we have left?
We'll be done by then, it's fine. We inherently want to see the idea of good triumphing over evil. And this desire for a happy ending exists in real life too. We want to see the bad person go to prison. We want to see justice.
Ursula's story ends like this. Her skeleton was a feature of the Boscastle Museum for years, but then the owner of the museum needed to sell it, and Ursula's skeleton was one of the only items not included in the sale. The skeleton ended up being owned by an artist who kept the skeleton in his library next to the embalmed body of a local homeless person. After the artist died, a local historian and filmmaker, John Warland, campaigned to get Ursula's body released from the estate so she could be reburied in St. Osyth. He was successful, and there was a peaceful reburial of Ursula's bones in 2011, back where she belonged. But carbon dating has suggested that the bones might not be Ursula's after all. The National Archive lists all of the women who were brought back to Colchester Castle after their trial, but Ursula was not on that list. John Warland says his theory is that because Ursula was thought to be the ringleader of these witches, she was hanged, and her remains were thrown into a pit.
It's estimated that about 200,000 people were tortured, hanged, or burned as witches across Europe between the publication of the Malleus Maleficarum in 1486 and the tail end of the witch trials in the 1700s. The witch craze started to die out, and we can't say what specifically stopped witch trials from happening. It's likely to be a number of things, but a key thing would be a return to a more politically stable climate.
We find witch trials where we often find political instability. In England, the most vicious years of witch hunting took place during the Civil War. It seems like where we have instability, where we have a sense that there is an us and a them, add to that a few dry years where the harvest fails and people become ill, and you've got yourself fertile ground for a witch trial.
It is said that wherever you find the witch hunter, you will find the witch. There is something seductive and binding about the idea of a common enemy. Whether it's the unpopular boss in the workplace or a country at war with another, nothing unites people like having someone else to point the finger at. Although these days, when you hear someone complaining of being the victim of a witch hunt, it doesn't tend to be an older female. It tends to be the President of the United States.
Nowadays, people are reclaiming the word witch like never before. Author and witch Pam Grossman says,
The witch is a feminine archetype who has authority over herself. She doesn't get power in relation to other people. She has power on her own terms. Whether the witch is depicted as villainous or valorous, she's always a figure of freedom, both its loss and its gain. She's perhaps the only female archetype who is an independent operator. The witch owes nothing. That is what makes her dangerous, and that is what makes her divine.
Do you think that maybe witches are actually nice and we just don't understand?
Yes.
A friend once told me that a witch is someone who can change the energy in the room, someone who has the power to shift things that we can't quite understand. To me, witchcraft is about connecting to what we don't know. We understand so little of our amazing human brain. I like to think about witchcraft as a term for all of the things that we feel deeply but can't rationalize, like why you get goosebumps when you hear a certain person sing, or why when someone pops into your head who you haven't thought about in a long time, they then phone you or appear around the corner. So I'll ask you again, do you know what a witch looks like? Would you trust one? Do you want to be one? And if not, why not?
You're the decision makers, you're the gatekeepers. You've been born to a land, taught to worship your hand over ours. You're taught to knee-jerk, you've learned to grief shirk. You're allowed to decide when you want to abide by the rules.
You carve out your story to feed to the masses.
You edit the truth with your lies and your bullshit tinted glasses. But we are so done with this world which harasses. Your voice is the loudest, but it never earned the right to be. Your social standing won't excuse your impropriety. Your education will see through your you burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, whoa, oh, whoa.
Okay, Hornchurch, we're gonna get you to sing along with us. Ready? Here we go. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh. Saving, we'll fight to deny the right to imply that we're wrong. Whoa, oh, we have awoken, we are unbroken, and what we started, we're lioness hiding. So wrong, we know our goodness, we know we're worthy, more than controversy made by a clergy. We will maintain in the face of conjecture a world that's designed with our architecture. Our voice is the loudest now. We know we've earned the right to be. Our social standing won't excuse our impropriety. Our education will see through your bullshit piety. You burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh, oh, whoa, oh,
repent. We will never allow your lies to ferment. We will start our own fires to feel the earth shake.
Go burn yourself at your own fucking stake.
Our voices are loudest now. We know we've earned the right to be. Our social standing won't excuse our impropriety. Our education will see through your bullshit piety. You burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. You burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. You burn our bodies, you burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. You burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society. You burn our bodies, but we'll burn down your society.
Yeah, that's you good? Can you hear me? First time we've ever done that the whole way through. So we're really, really grateful to Hornchurch for having us to try this for the first time. So thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. I hope you've learned some stuff and I hope you've had a nice time. So yeah, that's it really, isn't it?
Thank you so much for coming. We have some zines as well, which also just arrived today, which we got a peek at, and that's featuring some very cool work from friends of ours, some witches as well, if you want to hear some other sides of a story. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good night. Big round of applause for Midori, Essa, and Daisy. This is Becky. Thank you so much.